certain parameters to characterize fuel cells. So the first and foremost terminology, as we have seen, is the voltage. So we have a thermodynamic voltage or theoretical voltage. It can be obtained from the Gibbs equation or difference between the oxidation electrode and the hydrogen electrode, oxygen electrode or hydrogen and hydrogen electrode. So that is a theoretical voltage. So theoretical voltage is characteristic of a fuel cell depending on the reactions. So fuel and it is a fixed value. And OCV is the practically obtainable voltage, open circuit voltage. It is the practical voltage one can obtain. So before any device is connected to, that is the practical voltage. Open circuit voltage or OCV. It's also called sometimes OCP, open circuit potential or open circuit voltage. Hari? Okay, so the working voltage is depending on the device and its apparent internal resistance. You will have some voltage. That is the working voltage. Working voltage for a battery, that is different. Maybe for lithium-ion battery, so there is a defined working voltage. There is a defined working voltage for lead-acid battery. Similarly, the working voltage for the fuel cell is E is equal to E0 minus internal resistance apparent. So the removing the resistance due to electrolyte resistance, electrode and fuel cell, what is the voltage that you get from the theoretical voltage is the working voltage. Let's move on. Current, discharge current and discharge powers are very important in fuel cell. In fact, power density is very important in fuel cells rather than the discharge current. So anyway, current can be obtained by using this Ohm's equation. So if you know these two quantities, it is possible to estimate current. And of course, current depends on the two parameters of a fuel cell. The actual resistance of the cell resistance as well as the internal resistance that is connected to the fuel cell. Based on these two, so you get a current, discharge current. So you already know the voltage of your fuel cell. Now you know the potential current. So multiplication of or combination of these two, voltage and potential current, you will get you power. I have next slide, power density. Okay, we'll come back to that. So current, voltage, current and power, you know. What is the operating efficiency of your fuel cell? We know Faraday efficiency for a battery or supercapacitor. Maybe fill factor in solar cell. Likewise, you have a operating efficiency of your fuel cell, which is defined eta is equal to work obtainable from your fuel cell to that of the heat absorbed or the energy that is being supplied. So it is not thermodynamic efficiency. Okay, it is not thermodynamic limited. So how much work you can get from the fuel cell with the supply of your fuel. So depending on the catalyst and the efficiency of the fuel cell, you get maybe 80% or so. And so the other parameter is to characterize the fuel cell is voltage efficiency. Voltage, you know, theoretical voltage, you know, thermodynamic voltage, you know, open circuit voltage, you know. The ratio between the voltage and to that of the theoretical voltage is the voltage efficiency. This is typically about 60 to 70% in normal fuel cell. So the voltage efficiency is not 100%. It means that the operating voltage or open circuit voltage of the fuel cell is always less than that of the theoretical voltage. You will never get 100%. So because of losses in the fuel cell or poor catalytic activity of the catalyst, or the fuel itself may not be getting oxidized on the fuel, on the catalyst. Because of that, so the voltage efficiency is always less than 100%. Okay, so there are no ideal fuel cell voltages. We have other parameters to characterize the fuel cell. The important parameters are fuel utilization efficiency. Fuel utilization efficiency. It is also known as Coulombic efficiency or Faraday efficiency. Coulombic efficiency or Faraday efficiency in the battery is different. That is the output energy ratio between the output energy to that of the input energy, or output capacity or discharge capacity to that of input energy, input capacity or charge capacity. But here the Coulombic efficiency is defined in a different way. Please listen. So efficiency of reactant utilization. The name itself tells that or implies that so something is utilized. What is utilized? Reactants are utilized. What are the reactant in fuel cell? It is fuel and oxidant. If it is a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, the reactants are oxygen, hydrogen and oxygen. If it is a methanol, the reactants are methanol and oxygen. Okay. So whether all the fuels are getting utilized for the conversion into a potential? No. So then we have a percentage of utilization. You quantify in terms of efficiency. So the other names are Coulombic efficiency, Faraday efficiency. Why it is not possible to utilize all the fuels that are fed into the fuel cell? There are intrinsic reason and extrinsic reason. There are intrinsic reasons and extrinsic reasons. So as you see that intrinsic reasons are, so it's not that all the fuel that is fed on the anode will be utilized. No. Some fuel may cross through the membrane, reach at the cathode compartment. Fuel crossover, mixed potential. You remember? Mixed potential. I have some more content on the fuel cell losses coming up later. Then the fuel that are being supplied need not be only converted into the potentials. There are fuel that is utilized for powering a compressor, maybe water management unit, thermal management unit, etc. Okay. So then not all the fuel that is being fed on the fuel will get oxidized. Forget about leakage and all those things. The fuel that is falling on the anode everything will not get oxidized. If everything gets oxidized, then complete utilization of the fuel. No, some may not be. Some percentage of fuel may not be oxidizing. It may be partially decomposing. It may be in the case of alcohol fuel cell, methanol, for example, formic acid, conversion to formic acid. It's supposed to convert into CO2. No, it stops at this formic acid, acetic acid, or partially decomposed or partially oxidized forms. So because of that, the fuel that is fed on the anode is not completely utilized. So you quantify that. How you quantify that? In the name of reactant utilization efficiency or efficiency of reactant utilization. And so you can indirectly quantify using a Faraday efficiency. How? So it's a ratio between the theoretically required rate of reactant supplied to that of actually rate of reactant supplied. So it might be confusing. You can look up. So there is a reaction, hydrogen oxidation. There is a minimum amount of molecule or some moles of theoretically requiring moles to react. Maybe 1 or 2, depending on the type of the fuel. That is theoretically required. What is the actual moles of hydrogen involved in the reaction, or what is the actual moles of oxygen involved in the reaction? That is the actual rate. Okay, the ratio gives the Faraday efficiency. It's also known as fuel utilization efficiency, Faraday efficiency, Coulombic efficiency. So generally for any galvanic cell, so theoretically how much rate is required, what is the actual rate is supplied. When it is applied to the fuel cell, then you talk about the fuel and oxidant. Okay, so what is the actual theoretically required fuel rate? What is the actual fuel that is being supplied? Is the fuel Faraday efficiency or fuel utilization efficiency. Okay, I think so next slide will give you better information. The inversion of or the inverse of this Faraday efficiency is known as stoichiometric ratio. The inverse of Faraday efficiency or the Coulombic efficiency is known as stoichiometry. This is the meaningful number. You will use this stoichiometric ratio in several numerical problems, at least 2-3 numerical problems. So when I say inverse, so lambda C is the stoichiometry, cathode stoichiometry, C, cathode. Lambda is the symbol for stoichiometry ratio, C is the cathode. So inverse of Faraday efficiency is 1 by eta. So cathode Faraday efficiency, eta Fc. Eta Fa, anodic Faraday efficiency. So then it becomes anodic stoichiometry ratio, cathodic stoichiometry ratio. Then this quantity remains same, only the opposite. Actual rate of oxidizer delivered to the cathode. What is the oxidizer delivered to the cathode? Oxygen. What is the rate of oxygen that is being supplied on the cathode divided by the theoretically required rate of oxygen to be supplied at the cathode is the cathodic stoichiometry. If you know some number, you will be able to get some number. It may be 1, 0.8 or 0.5, 0.3, poorly performing, maybe 0.2, 0.3, etc. So this is for cathode. So for the anode, instead of oxygen, oxidizer, you have your fuel there. It may be hydrogen, methanol, or ethanol, ethylene glycol, or carbon monoxide, ammonia, etc. Actual rate of fuel that is delivered to the anode to that of the theoretically required rate of fuel that is being supplied. If you know these numbers, you will get some number. Stoichiometry ratio for anode. Anode stoichiometry, cathode stoichiometry. You see that. So for better performing fuel cell, these numbers should be larger than 1, greater than 1. So greater than 1 means, so the actually supplied is more. What is theoretically supplied? That is different. What is actually supplied to the anodes and the cathodes? If it is more, you get lambda C and lambda A greater than 1. Okay. So there is a connection between lambda C and lambda A. Okay. So if you know one, other one can be obtained. Other one can be obtained. Okay. We will use these parameters. Maybe at that time you will understand much better. So there are other parameters to define or characterize the fuel cells. Design efficiency. So we already seen several efficiency. What is design efficiency? It's not just one fuel cell. We need to have many cells connected in series and parallel. There are auxiliary equipment, compressor, thermal management unit, water management unit, fuel reformer. All these requires energy to be utilized. Energy required to pump the oxygen. Energy required, power is required to pump the hydrogen. Energy required to reform hydrogen containing molecule into hydrogen rich molecule. So we need to spend some energy for that. So after spending that, what is the efficiency? That is the design efficiency. So then if you bring everything, the overall fuel cell efficiency, eta total is equal to thermodynamic efficiency, voltage efficiency, Coulombic efficiency, and design efficiency. And there is an equation connecting. That I think I should bring here. Yes. Cell voltage is coming after all these losses. I think I'll come back to that later. So the overall cell efficiency is combination of thermodynamic efficiency, voltage efficiency, Coulombic efficiency, and design efficiency. I told you in fuel cell, power density is very important. So power we know, so current into voltage. Electrical power we know, current into voltage. What is power density? What is the power that you can get per centimeter square is the power density. Okay. So power by surface area or the area. Okay. So usually in fuel cell, it is measured milliwatt per centimeter square. Maybe of course can be converted into watt per meter square also. Since the power delivered is very low, you quantify in terms of milliwatt per centimeter square. Okay, usually fuel cells are named after maybe 50 watt, 50 milliwatt per centimeter square power density fuel cell. It's named like this: 100 milliwatt, 1000 milliwatt, something like that. Okay, and so we also know the power, maximum power that you can get from any devices. Power law we know. Okay, power law. Of course, you can quantify in terms of gravimetric power, volumetric power, either mass or volume you take it. So this power theorem, which we utilize for any devices, can also be utilized for fuel cells. V square by R or 4R. Okay. So this happens to be a parabolic equation. So generally, if you plot power density versus the current of a fuel cell, it will reach a maximum and come back. So the fuel is fed, slowly getting oxidized. All the molecules are getting oxidized. You get a maximum efficiency, maximum power density. Then when all the fuels are utilized, then it declines. Then fresh molecule getting absorbed, then you get. This is continuous. Okay, so it's a parabolic according to these equations. And this is polarization curve, ideal polarization curve. I have a much better curve later. So voltage versus current is another characteristic of, to define or to characterize a fuel cell. Not only power density curve and IV curve. I think I may have IV curve. Okay, I think it is coming up. So, so we have a limitation for the solar cell. We have a limitation for the battery. Maybe lead acid battery can be cycled maybe 600 to 1000 times. Your secondary alkaline battery may be 600 to 800 times. Lithium ion battery can be cycled, charging and discharging can be done more than 1000 times, 2000, 3000 times. After that its lifetime is over. It will not serve the same purpose. It will serve, but not at the same performances. Like this, so fuel cell also has a limitations. Because after all these are made up of some compounds, chemical, catalyst, membrane. Over the time, they undergo degradation. So there is a lifetime. There is a lifetime for the fuel cell. So already we have a limitation in the voltage, and a thermodynamic limitation defines efficiency, design efficiency. Given all these things, there is a lifetime for the fuel cell. We cannot expect all the years to work fuel cell. No, there is a limitation. So there are reasons why there is a limitation in the lifetime. I told you that, so we have to use a catalyst and we have to use membrane. When you are using a catalyst, once you when you fabricate the fuel cell, the catalyst will have a very fine structure, very good morphology, maybe nanostructure if you would have made it. But we cannot expect the same morphology to be retained after 1 week or after a month or after a year. Definitely it will undergo degradation. Poisoning will take place. Recrystallization will take place. Smaller particles will combine, make a larger grain. Smaller particle, more surface area, large contact area, better the performances. Many small grains will combine together, make a large grain, surface area is lost. Contact area will be less performance. Not only recrystallization is the reason, decreasing the lifetime of a fuel cell, some catalyst may undergo dissolution in the electrolyte. The electrolytes are either acid or base. In the case of a solution-based fuel cell, it might undergo degradation, dissolution. Catalyst may be lost, will not be available for decompose or oxidize of fuel. Maybe at the same time, cathode also. Not only that, not only dissolution is a problem, so it will deposit on the pores. Gas diffusion layer, this Praveen has shown that, gas diffusion layer. Next semester we will study details on gas diffusion layer, different types of materials. So if they go on the pores of a catalyst, what will happen? Catalyst will be poisoned. Already we have a catalyst poisoning if we have the impure fuel. PTCO forming, platinum carbon monoxide forming, platinum sulfur forming is the catalyst poisoning. Inhibit. Okay, so there will not be fuel molecule to get in. And the membrane what we use or the electrolyte what we use, we cannot expect all the time to have the same conductivity over the time. It will decrease, it will volatilize, it will get denser, mobility will be difficult, it will dilute, conductivity will be lost. We cannot expect the same performances today and after a year if you make a fuel cell. Maybe it is for same other devices also. Okay. So then other reasons are corrosion, because we use acid and alkali, definitely prone to corrosion. Even the more stable any metal will have a prone to corrosion. Corrosion not only weakens the skeleton structure, but it also leads to the loss of the active material. Very big syndrome. Fuel cell corrosion is a big syndrome. And especially if it is operated at elevated temperature. And leakage of the fuels, leakage of the electrolyte because of the poor sealing, or when you make the fuel cell, that time sealing may be good. So the hydrogen that you feed, it should be only delivered to the anode. It should not leak through. It should not leak through. So if it leaks, then the performance will degrade. Will not be able to get the same performances. So these are some of the reasons why activity of the fuel cell or the performance of the fuel cell over the lifetime getting reduced. And we come to the important topic of a fuel cell. So we will not be able to get the theoretical performances on fuel cell. Maybe in the lithium-ion battery, whatever you input, you will be able to get output in terms of capacity or energy density. But it is difficult in fuel cells, because there are inherent losses associated with the fuel cells. Various losses, at least 5 losses are associated with any fuel cell. And to understand that, we use this IV characteristic or power density curve. IV characteristic or power density curve. So you see here, so when you make a fuel cell, if it is a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, theoretically it should generate 1.23 voltage like this. Ideal IV curve should have been like this, but practically it is like this only. Initially more potential and it declines. After that comes to 0, then start with a fresh molecule. So we will consider one molecule, how it undergoes and how it decays. This is how ideally it should have been like this, but practically it is like this. So we can divide this IV characteristic into 5 regions. In fact, I think I should show this one. 5 regions. Region 1, activation region. Region 2, ohmic region. Region 3, concentration region. Region 4, deviation from the Nernst equation. Region 5, deviation from the thermodynamics. So deviation from the thermodynamics is understandable. Using Gibbs equation, you can get the thermodynamic voltage, but we will never get the thermodynamic voltage practically. Then there is a deviation. That is the thermodynamic deviation. Then what is the actual voltage you can get? You can get from the Nernst equation. We have seen Nernst equation in the first semester. Depending on the concentration of the reactant, oxidant, so you get a cell voltage. So there is the cell voltage is not the theoretical cell voltage. It depends on the actual concentration of the fuel cell, actual concentration of the fuel and oxidant. That is the deviation from the Nernst equation. Then other 3 regions are very important. Region 1 is the activation polarization or activation loss. This one. As the name implies, something needs to be activated. The fuel must be activated by the catalyst or on the catalyst in order to undergo decomposition or oxidation. So the activation polarization or activation loss strongly depends on the electrode. More efficient the electrode is, lesser the activation loss. Better the voltage you are going to get. Region 1. The second region is ohmic polarization of the fuel. Ohmic region or ohmic activation or ohmic potential. What is ohmic potential? So this is dominated by mostly the electrolyte, catalyst layer, and the connections, interconnection, whatnot, contact, etc. If all these have enough conductivity, the ohmic polarization or ohmic loss will be less. You will get a better fuel cell performance. But many a time it's not. There are no ideal electrolyte. There are no ideal catalysts. So it is having some resistance. Electrolyte is having some resistance. Catalyst layers are having some resistance. Interconnections, contacts, they all have resistance. So to overcome those resistance, energy or the current has to be spent something. So you have a inherent losses due to ohmic losses. Region 3, concentration loss. What is this concentration loss? So you have your fuel cell, hydrogen is fed, hydrogen is contacting on the cathode catalyst surface, getting adsorbed, then undergoing desorption followed by the electrochemical reaction. Then the fuel is lost. When there are no fuel, there will be no generation of potential. Concentration polarization. Concentration polarization. Not only that, sometimes this fuel not only reacting, instead of reacting on the anode, it crosses through the membrane and reaches the cathode compartment. Concentration polarization. That much concentration of fuel is not available to react on the anode. Concentration polarization. So the loss due to the inavailability of the fuel on the anode or at the anode is concentration loss. Okay. So then we have seen other region. Fourth region is departure from the Nernst equation. So depending on the concentration of the oxidant and hydrogen or fuel, so according to the Nernst equation, you have a potential. If not, you will not be able to get the theoretical voltage. It means there is a loss. There is a loss due to the concentration of the reactant. Then thermodynamic departure from the cell thermodynamic region, we have seen it. You will never able to get the thermodynamic voltage due to various reasons. Okay, so no ideal fuel cells. 4 important regions in the IV characteristic of a fuel cell, which talks about the losses in the fuel cell. Fuel cell losses, very important topic, practically to work on. So combining all these things, or with the expense of all these losses only, you will be able to see some potential. That is somewhere around 0.8 to 1 voltage. Though you will be able to get theoretically, you will have to get 1.23 theoretically for hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. But you have so many losses: thermodynamic losses, activation losses, ohmic losses, concentration losses, and a departure from the Nernst equation. Each can be quantified. What is the thermodynamic loss? You can know by using the voltage efficiency. Departure from the, what is the loss due to the Nernst equation? You can know from the over potential that you can obtain from the Nernst equation. Okay, so likewise it is quantifiable. With all these expenses or losses only, you will be able to read the fuel cell voltage for a single fuel cell practically somewhere between 0.6 to 1 voltage. If you are getting 0.8, that is very good. If you are getting 1 voltage for a single fuel cell, that is excellent fuel cell. So it means that you have to account for these losses. For example, if you have to develop or if you have to get 123 voltage, so you cannot take 100 fuel cells and connect it in series. You will not read 123 voltage. Theoretically, you're supposed to read. If it is having some, no, not if, it is having losses. Let's say 40 voltage is lost. You can estimate how much is the voltage loss. You'll be able to get only 83. you'll be able to get 83 voltage. So depending on the losses, you can estimate. So if we, for a given fuel cell, how much is the total voltage you'll be able to get? What is the loss? I think we have some numerical problems in this regard. But important point is there are inherent losses associated with the fuel cells. Engineers, scientists, or technologists are not keeping quiet. They try to improve these losses. How will you improve the activation loss? You will have to improve the catalyst. Instead of poor catalyst, a better performing catalyst if you take, so you can reduce the activation losses. How will you improve the ohmic losses or the resistance due to the resistance of the electrode, electrolyte, etc.? You use a better electrolyte, increase the concentration, increase the conducting membrane, so that ohmic loss can be reduced. How will you reduce the concentration loss? You make the membrane not to allow the fuel crossover, or you make a better concentration of the electrolyte, concentration of the fuel, so that they stay on the anode. All the molecules will be made to react on the anode. No fuel crossover. No fuel crossover or less fuel crossover. Okay, so following these measures or remedies, it is possible to reduce the fuel cell losses. And more on fuel cell losses, especially on activation losses. It can be reduced or it can be minimized depending on the reaction, depending on the fuel. Hydrogen oxidation is the well exploited reaction compared to the methanol oxidation, ethanol oxidation, etc. The simplest charge transfer reaction, HOR, hydrogen oxidation reaction. So activation loss, not much, but whereas methanol, if it is a methanol fuel cell, ethanol fuel cell, then these activation losses are more. So when I say activation losses are more, means it has to overcome in order to get oxidized. There is an involvement of over potential. Hydrogen supposed to oxidize 0 voltage against NHE on any catalyst. Not any an ideal catalyst. If the catalyst is not enough or better or good, so what will happen? It will oxidize at other than 0 voltage. That difference in the voltage is known as over potential. This will increase, over potential will increase if the catalyst is more poor. So forget about hydrogen, methanol, the over potential is large. Oxidation of methanol will have over potential. It is a loss. So you can minimize the losses depending on the type of the catalyst. Poor the catalyst choice, more activation loss, or vice versa. So you have to use eventually efficient catalyst. Many times you will have to use coke catalyst, CO tolerance catalyst, etc. And the morphology of the catalyst layer also important, can be manipulated in order to reduce the activation losses. So if you have a more surface area, more fuel molecule or efficient fuel molecule can be absorbed and can undergo further reaction. Instead of using a foil, you use particles, rods, nano wires, etc. Instead of using a powder, maybe nano wire, maybe better, etc. So operating parameters of a fuel cell also will contribute to the activation losses or minimize the activation losses. Okay. So especially if you operate at a elevated temperature, definitely you will be able to reduce activation losses, because at a elevated temperature, so better collision of the molecule or better rate of the reaction you can get it, so that activation loss can be minimized. Instead of conducting fuel cell reaction at room temperature, if you conduct at 60 degree or 50 degree, it is little elevated temperature. So the fuel molecules will have a better kinetic energy so that they will travel and interact, undergo oxidation. So activation losses are connected with these parameters. Impurities, we have already spoken. If we have impurities, so catalyst will be poison. Impurities such as carbon monoxide, sulfur will poison the catalyst. Definitely. Okay, so you can see that. So how the fuel cell was utilized, how long it was utilized. So will also determine the activation losses. How the fuel cell was utilized, elevated temperature or low temperature, both are dangerous. I don't say dangerous, it has its own effect. Okay. So how the fuel cell was utilized for application, whether it was used for load cycling or static applications, so we'll have the activation losses. I think we have completed activation losses. So ohmic polarization, we have already defined the resistance offered by the electrolyte and electrodes is the ohmic resistance or ohmic polarization. How will you overcome this ohmic polarization or ohmic loss? Use a better conducting electrode. You use a better conducting electrolyte. Okay. Instead of using a thick membrane, use a thinner, so the resistance will be less. Instead of using a less conducting electrolyte or electrode, use a better conducting electrode or electrolyte so that you can minimize the ohmic polarization or ohmic resistance. Eventually, the loss due to ohmic polarization can be minimized. Thickness, I think I have some table. Yes. See here, so depending on the thickness, you have a conductivity. Same membrane, maybe same PTFE membrane or Nafion membrane, depending on the thickness, you have a conductivity. So use optimized thickness. So you get an optimized conductivity so that you will may get a better performances. So last is concentration. I think I have a few more. Okay. So concentration polarization. So fuel is allowed to fall on the anode compartment, getting absorbed, desorption, simultaneously oxidation, so charge transfer reaction is taking place. Then fuel is lost, concentration is lost. So the loss due to that is concentration loss. So not only that, so if the pores are blocked, catalyst pores are blocked, gas diffusion layers are blocked, then there is no possibility for the fuel molecule to come in contact with the catalyst. Diffusion limitation, accumulation of the gases on the pores due to blockage by maybe impurities, blockage by the water generated, will all clog. So retardation of the fuel concentration loss due to non-availability of the fuel molecule, maybe due to diffusion, accumulation of the pores by water, build-up of inert gases. Hydrogen will decompose, nitrogen will not decompose. If nitrogen is building up on the pores, so that will hinder the hydrogen availability. I mean, availability for hydrogen to be absorbed. Impurities, of course. So the other reasons are fuel crossover, which we have already seen. So hydrogen we want should react on the anode, but instead of that, it may cross through and reach at the cathode compartment. Similarly, oxygen we want to undergo reduction in the cathode. It might pass through the membrane and reach at the anode, where it will undergo oxidation. Both will have mixed potential. Mixed potential will lower the cell voltage. The 0.6, 0.8 voltage, we have several losses. This may be one of the contributors. Fuel crossover. This is big syndrome in, may not be a big syndrome, is not a big syndrome in a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, but it is a big syndrome in methanol fuel cell. Significant amount of methanol pass through the membrane, reaches the cathode compartment where it undergoes, instead of oxidation, undergoes reduction. lowers the cell voltage due to formation of mixed potential. These all need to be taken care. You need to have a better membrane which will not allow hydrogen to pass through, methanol to pass through, or oxygen to pass through, reaching the compartment. So I'll complete, I will stop in another 5 minutes. Okay. So we have seen so far single fuel cells, and you require stacks to make a meaningful fuel cell device so that it can be utilized for any device. So how will you increase the fuel cell performances? If your required voltage is 230, your single fuel cell will generate a theoretical 1.23. Practically, let's say 1 voltage. You require 230 voltage. You require so many cells to be connected in series. And many a time, maybe depending on the power for your consumer electronics, you require high current. How will you increase the current? How will you increase the voltage? Straightforward. So now I think it must be comfortable to you. How will you increase the cell voltage? Go for stacking. Take several fuel cells, combine it in series. You will increase the cell voltage. V, total voltage of a fuel cell is equal V1 plus V2 plus V3 plus V4, etc., etc. Additive. Voltage is additive in the case of series connected fuel cells. And how you will practically do, I think next semester there is a elaborative fuel cell technology. So I think it is not good to discuss here. So you stack in series to increase the cell voltage. That's enough. You have a bipolar plate, current collectors. I think we will not talk about now. How will you increase the current density generally? What would be your response? Instead of 5 by 5 centimeter, if you have a 10 by centimeter, you have a large area. Larger the area, better the fuel molecule to interact. Better the fuel, more the fuel molecule to get oxidized, you get more current generated or charge generated. Straightforward. That is one way. The other two ways are operate the fuel cell at elevated temperature. Operating the fuel cell at elevated temperature will result in increased fuel cell current, cell current. Or you go for use of efficient catalyst. Instead of just platinum, use a bifunctional catalyst, coke catalyst, very efficient catalyst, large area catalyst. So you will have increased current. Both are required. Voltage also required, current also is required. Voltage are required, current also is required. This cartoon, I'm sure you have seen it. So depending on the load you require, or the power is required, or voltage you require, either you connect in series, in parallel, or in series. Okay. So voltage need to be met, definitely. Voltage need to be met for any functioning of any devices. Okay. So you select the combinations either in series or in parallel. Sometimes combination of series and parallel also you require. I think in this regard, I have some numerical problems. So you can take down this. I have already transmitted this content. So try to work out. Consider an automotive application where nominally 300 voltage is required to operate an electric motor to power the wheels. If the fuel cells operate at an average voltage of 0.6 voltage, 1.1 ampere per centimeter square, how many cells need to be connected in series to have the fuel cell stack? If the cells are 300 centimeter square active area, what is the total current that you can get from your stack? The stacks are now connected in series. The same fuel cells, now if the stack is now arranged with the individual cells in parallel, what is the current and the voltage output of the stack? And see, is there any difference in power output of the two designs? Which one you will choose? Looks very big question, big numerical problem. Please try to try to solve. I've already given the answer, I think. I don't know whether I've given or not. You can work out. So an electric vehicle powered by the fuel cell requires 300 voltage. And you have been given a fuel cell which is able to deliver 0.6 voltage for a single fuel cell at a current density of 1.1 ampere per centimeter square. The area of the plates are 300 centimeter square. So how many cells are required in series? That is one problem. Now the same stack, if you connect in parallel, what is the current and the voltage you can get? Please try. If anybody have already tried, you can share your screen. So my sling pen is not working properly, so I lost it somewhere. Not working. I lost it somewhere. I couldn't trace it. So otherwise, I would have used a board. To remove this. So anyway, this is the problem, numerical problem. I have the answer here. So 300 voltage you have to get from your fuel cell, stack of a fuel cell connected in series with the individual fuel cell delivering 0.6 voltage and 1.1 ampere per centimeter square current density. So how many cells you require in series? 500 cells, straightforward. I think the question only looks very big, but it is nothing, in fact. 300 voltage you should get. So each fuel cell will give 0.6 voltage. So then obviously you need to have 500 fuel cells connected in series. Yes. So each fuel cell gives 1.1 ampere current per centimeter square. Then each fuel cell has the area of 300 centimeter square. What is the current output you can get from your fuel cell? Single fuel cell, 1.1 into 300 centimeter square. 1.1 ampere divided by centimeter square into 300 centimeter square. Centimeter square will cancel. You get 1.1 into 300, 330 ampere current. A single fuel cell will able to generate 330 ampere current. Current density is 1.1. Current is 330. Then now you have 500 cells. What is the power you will get? Voltage you know, current you know. So multiplication will give you power. 300 voltage into 330 ampere, voltage into ampere, watt, 9,000, how much it is? 99,000 watt, or 99 kilowatt. 99 kilowatt. This is in series. Now take the 500 fuel cells having the same characteristic, connect in parallel. Voltage will remain same. What is the current output you will get? Voltage will remain 0.6. A single fuel cell will generate 330 ampere current. You have 500 additive. So 330 into 500, this number, 16500 ampere. What is the power now you can get? So this much current into 0.6 voltage. Same power you get. What is the difference? This is connected in series and this is connected in parallel. Simple circuit. So the here voltage is 300. Here the voltage is 0.6 voltage. But your application demands a 300 voltage. Which one you will choose? That is the question. It's obviously series connected because that only will give you 300 voltage. This will give you only 0.6. Power may be same, but voltage is not. I think so. We'll stop now. So we have many other few more numerical problems. So I have already given. Please at least read and try to work out the all other numerical problems. In the next class, we will work out. Okay, we'll stop now. So if anybody would like to add anything or make some comments, clarifications, suggestions, additions, you can do so.